and my thing, fucking Zoom, man. I mean, we need to find a new thing because it like tells me recording, and it throws me off. Like I don't know when to start to talk. You know what I'm saying?
I think we're
Anyway,
going now. 3, 2,
yeah,
1.
we're recording, but it recorded
Right.
all that
I
shit.
know. What I'm
But
saying.
in my headset, when I press record, a voice like Siri pops up. Recording is in progress.
You know what? We got to get a new producer. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, or somebody's got to fucking shape up or ship out. But then, like, it did that one day where it didn't say anything to me. It didn't for the longest time. Then it started with an update, like recording, and I'm like, when do I start talking?
Right.
So then I press record, and then nothing, and then she comes in like a delay.
That's it. Janet, you're fired.
Somebody's fired.
We're getting rid of Janet. We're gonna get a new producer.
Jesus Christ! I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for our couple. I think we have more than a couple loyal listeners. Which I really appreciate. Sorry, we've been delayed lately. Aaron, he's got to work and shit, so although we were gonna do it Friday, and I completely tanked because after Friday it's a long week, man. It's like
right. I know. Like on Friday, it's like I don't want to
totally
do it. I totally want to just sip a beer and stare at the wall.
But I mean, if I was being paid to do this, I wouldn't have forgotten.
Yeah.
But it's just the way it's gonna be, guys. But we're trying to give you a quality show and content and shit. But
all right.
Hey man, that's what you get. We got two dudes just talking about shit.
Right. Stuff.
Talking about stuff. Sorry. So we always start off with music, and I think of what I talked to you the other day about the band Joy Division.
Yeah, right.
That burned out very quick. They had 2 albums, but their second album came out after their lead singer committed suicide.
Right.
He suffered like seizures and shit and depression. But they're like a forefather or grandfather, they're on the Mount Rushmore of alternative music.
They really are. Yeah, I mean,
you can take,
I was just gonna agree with you. Like they really are.
And like listening to it, like you're like, okay, that is one of the reasons why like Nirvana is around, or Smashing Pumpkins, or this whole like totally different musical genre that they helped create.
Right.
And The Cure was around the same time they started out, but like they were really big, like just like the beats and synthesizers and just a whole new, and the lyrics were really different from the norm.
Yeah. No, they were cool. They were a cool band. Like they're not one of. I actually need to kind of make a point to kind of listen to those 2 albums they put out. Like I've listened to them because I had a roommate that was like totally into them, and so I'd heard them. But I mean, but even so, that's been a while. But yeah, no, Joy Division, and then the band that they became, New Order, I think was the band they became, totally just influential to the modern alternative scene.
I think that song to this day, Blue Monday, is still the #1 selling 12-inch single of all time.
Something like that. It holds some incredible records.
It's got some records, which is crazy because who knows would that song have even been a thing if Ian Curtis had not died,
Right. And that's one of those songs, like when it comes on, everybody knows it. Like everybody knows. Yeah.
It's a super long, cool song, but it's like they did not give up. And I don't think it's just crazy. Like, so like the main topic we're going to talk about today is nothing to do with what I'm talking about now, of course, but like, have we talked about suicide on our show? I don't remember.
I don't think we have.
It's like it's one of those like super complex topics where, like, growing up, I was always told, or you always hear, that's the coward's way out. That's what does. But it's like I've thought to myself, imagine having nobody to turn to in life.
Right.
And no mechanism to
cope
or to even express your feelings. You feel so alone and isolated that no one recognizes the signs, no one reaches out to you.
Yeah.
You're so miserable that you choose anti-life. You know what I mean? Like, that is kind of sort of courageous. Like, man, you're, you know what I'm saying? Like, if
Yeah, no, I get you.
you're
I do.
willing to the ultimate sacrifice, of
Right.
yourself because you have nowhere to turn to. And I gotta
Right.
think, man, people like it sucks that it's a cruel, cruel world out there, man. But then, like, at least in today's world, I think more of us can recognize the signs of somebody who is suicidal
Yeah.
more so than
Kind
like
of.
1980.
It's become such a topic of conversation in our culture
Yeah.
that I think more people are just aware of what they of and of oh yeah, the signs, and of keeping an eye on the people that they care about, and knowing that, hey, maybe we should talk. So it's
But it
interesting that
does it does suck though, man. I'm sorry.
no.
But if you're gonna go through with it, you have to understand you're gonna put everyone that loves you and your family literally in the world's worst feeling position, whatever you want to call it, possible.
Yeah.
And is that what you really want to do
Right.
to your family? Which I know your boy, most influential rock and rollers now of all time, Chris Cornell.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand. Like, me personally, I'm too scared to figure out what comes after. So
Right.
I wouldn't do it because I don't know what happens and I don't want to find out just yet.
Right. Right. I'm not
But
ready to
like,
find out
you
yet.
think to yourself, man, he's one of the most influential, famous rockers of all time, loves his
Right.
wife and his child. Why did he do it?
Yeah.
That's how complex depression and anxiety are. They really, it, it's like a horror show, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you should bring up that, and the Joy Division, and then the movement of Joy Division and New Order, because one of the big ones in America that kind of was the same thing was obviously Nirvana,
Yeah.
and then the dissolution of Nirvana, which
Right.
became the origin, which is kind of the origination of the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because I actually picked up Dave Grohl's memoir that he released yesterday,
Mhm.
The Storyteller, and it's cool. To like talk about the insights of a guy who's lived a life,
What's funny though
and
is like he's
it's
lived a
really
life, but nobody knows about it.
right. No, and now it's kind of, that's why it's interesting. It's kind of cool to like read his take on things and on life, and he's just and for being a guy who, I don't even think Dave finished high school
He
actually.
dropped out, and his mother was a teacher, and she
Right.
supported him.
Yeah, and he's actually a really good writer. Like,
Yeah.
he's a really good writer, and his take on everything is really unusual. But I actually saw an interview with him about the book, and they were interviewing him, and they asked him if the chapter on Kurt was hard to write, and he says, the last chapter I wrote, I put it off. I put it off the entire book, but I knew I had to write it. And so I finally did, but it was the last piece that I wrote.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of like obviously Dave's mom at the time of him dropping out of school, and he's like, I want to be a rock star. She wants the best for her son, but
Right.
she also knows my son has to make his own way in life, but I'll be there to support him and help him whenever
Right.
he needs. And she did. And how I mean, as a teacher, she's like, I've seen it a million times, Dave. People
Yeah.
drop out of school, blah blah blah. But he's not a clone,
Right.
and she let him do his thing, and it was fortunate for him. But like, I think more parents need to do that. Like, if you want to clone, then you should have studied science and learned how to clone people.
I mean,
Because
yeah,
your
no,
human that you create, while you do have some say in how the baby's raised or whatever, they're not clones, man.
and the second they hit, when they hit 16, 17, 18 years old, and then they're just, it's just kind of, you kind of have
you
to.
gotta let them do their thing, and like, you're there if they need help, and if you
Mhm.
can, you will help them. But if you force them into something, they're gonna. It's not like.
Oh, you're spot on, man.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
Yeah, so it's just cool to like. She said, I saw it in his eye. That's what he wanted to do. Go do it, baby.
Yeah.
I'll be here if you need me.
Right.
Shit doesn't work out.
Yep.
But you
And
have to
he
try,
was just
right.
and he was just one of the rare cases where it worked out all right for the guy. I mean, he did okay. He did okay.
I mean, that's good. That's like That's too generous. Telling me, he just did. He did okay.
He did all right.
And could you imagine like Everlong though being a Nirvana-ish like song? Like I wonder how they would have done it if you had that if you had been able to bring that to
Yeah.
the table. Because like like George Harrison and Ringo Starr bringing songs to the table
Yeah, absolutely.
into the McCartney Lennon thing was like so scary for them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like I
'Cause, I
don't
mean,
know if Kurt Cobain is a prolific songwriter, but he was the songwriter. So imagine, and
absolutely.
they had success. Hey man, I got this song. Like that's scary, And
Right. I've been doing these, and do you want to hear them? I mean, it's like
right,
that's
like I
got to
think
be.
Kurt would have been. I mean, it still would have been like
Well, I mean, I've read that like
nervous
he
for
he brought a few melodies in that Kurt actually listened to and really liked, and so I think if things hadn't turned out the way that they did, I think eventually they would have gone the route of like a. I mean, Kurt would have still been the primary, and we wouldn't have this prolific amount of albums that the Foo Fighters have done. But I think eventually we would have started
you think
getting songs
Nirvana would
written.
eventually broke up anyway?
Yeah, you got to wonder with the volatile nature of it, if anyway, if they would how much more they had in them. So it's interesting to question. There's just no way of knowing. It was funny. The intro to today's book is actually really funny because he talks about like how, in his brain, he goes, in my brain, I'm still kind of like this kid. And then I look in the mirror and I go, I'm not a kid anymore. And
Right.
he's like, it really hit me for, he's like, it really hit me like right in the face when I was performing at the concert for the Sandy hurricane victims. And there was like the Who was there and the Stones were there and McCartney was there. And they asked me like, do you want to go to the green room? There's some people who want to do some photos. You can go do some photos with these guys. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. It's like he got back in there and he never said who it was. He said, but when he got in there were two guys in there, two like famous rock stars. And one of them was like spray tanned and like he like looked like he was trying to just desperately fight off age for everything he had in him. And the and the other one, he didn't say who it was, but it was freaking Keith Richards who it was. He's like the other one looked like he had been like he had seen some stuff and he just didn't care at this point. And I was like, oh, it was Keith.
A long time ago.
Huh? Right, exactly. And I'm like,
before you
and he's like, right, exactly. And he's like, and he realized like, I want to be like that guy. He's like, I want to be a worn out hot rod who just keeps on rocking.
Hey, can you do the rest of the show and your Keith Richards?
Right, the rest is
how perfect was he to be Jack Sparrow's dad?
right, it's Jackie boy.
Perfect.
Well, I mean, I think Depp said he patterned the role after.
That was part of it, yeah, man. Like
after it, and so it's just like, hey, Jackie boy.
Insides are pickles,
dude. I don't even understand how that man is still going, but whatever.
But like, it's cool. Like Dave Grohl's in 2 Hall of Fame bands. Chris Cornell, 2 Hall of Fame, Soundgarden and Audioslave.
I don't think Audioslave's in yet, though.
They should be. Is my point.
Oh, 100%. Soundgarden's not either.
Matt Cameron of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. Like how is Soundgarden not in?
I don't know.
How are my Smashing Pumpkins not in? God damn it!
No, I don't understand how Smashing Pumpkins and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, and I don't understand how these bands aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
I guess none. At some point, Stone Temple Pilots should probably maybe get in. Maybe. We've talked about they're more of a B act, but their first 2 albums were huge.
Oh, I know. Plush. And what was the other one?
Core was the first.
Core.
But Take Time with a Wounded Hound. I mean, but they kind of burned out like quicker than I don't know. I just think like I could make an argument for them over some others that are in the Hall of Fame.
Well, yeah, because they're you got company.
Oh, hey, bro. But Soundgarden should have been in already. Their first album was like 88. They're past the 30-year mark.
Absolutely. It's ridiculous.
Whatever, man. I don't understand. Anyway, so as far as like current events go, since we're in the current event-ish season, let me ask you a question, Aaron.
I'll answer it, Joshua.
To the best of your ability, answer this question truthfully.
Okay. Oh dear. What
happens in that Aaron household when you spend more money than you bring in.
You go, oops.
But if you consistently spend more money than your household brings in, what do you think is going to happen?
Eventually, you know, there's going to be problems. I mean, you
Can you give
will
me an example of a problem that might occur?
massive amounts of debt would be incurred as you use credit cards or whatnot
Right.
to try and stimulate the
And let's say
overspending of your
you
household income. I
accrue,
think I know where you might be going with this,
right? So
Joshua,
if
but continue.
you accrue this massive amount of debt, you and your family keep spending more than you bring in. What happens eventually? The credit card company, they're like,
They cut you off.
well, but then they're like, you have to pay this back, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
And if you don't pay it back, what kind of recourse do they have?
Well, then they would begin to reclaim things and
Right.
or put you in, or they would set up, they would send people after you to collect said debt.
Like Dog the Bounty Hunter?
No, I don't think it would be like Dog the Bounty Hunter, but I believe they would probably, I believe at this point they would use the court systems to
Right.
to obtain
Because-
that money back.
Because
But
you enter into an agreement that the credit card will spot you the money, but you will pay them back.
that's generally how it works.
Right. And yeah, or you could go to jail.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
But
not usually, I mean, that's usually pretty far down on the list, but they would take you to court and try to reclaim.
Could you get a lien put on your house to help
Yeah,
cover
they'll
some
put a
of the
lien on
costs?
your house is a thing. They can.
Right. So eventually you could spend your way out of even living in a house.
That is
or
correct.
having all
Yeah.
these
My
secret things,
understanding
right?
of it is, unfortunately, this has never happened to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my understanding of it is, yeah, you could literally spend yourself out of your home because I
So
mean, eventually the
point
card
being, don't spend more than you take in. It's called budgeting,
generally it's
right?
not a good idea,
It's called
just
budgeting.
financially speaking.
Right, because it's bad. So why does the government get to do it?
Ah,
Why does the government get to do it, man? Why do they get to spend more than they take in?
this whole, you know, I'll be honest, I don't understand the whole national debt thing whatsoever. It just it makes zero sense to me for so many reasons.
Like, ask a question. Maybe I don't understand it either. I don't know.
I mean, it's like so when we talk about like are we like the national budget, like, you know, I mean, where does this national budget come from? The United States doesn't go to work every day and
Right.
collect a paycheck from the planet. I mean,
Right.
I'm off to work today. Have a good day, United States. You know,
Right.
it's like, so it's like, is the money that our government is? It's the taxable income of the populace, and this budget that they have. Like, what is this? What is this spending cap that they? What is this? What is this idea of this? Like, it almost feels like it's like this amorphous, like not real thing. It's like, this is our budget. We've just said it there. I mean, who
Right.
do we owe this money to? Like, I'm not this is honestly, it's not something I'm super well versed in, to be
Right.
completely frank.
Well, yeah, like, I don't know. I'm sure I could look it up. It's like, how do they determine what they're going to spend?
Right.
Right. But they know
And
how
who do
much
we owe all this money to? And
Well,
maybe it's me. And if
right.
it is, I want it.
Right. I know that they know how much they get every year.
Right.
Like, they knew that number. But like, so like every year they spend more than they take in. It's
Every year.
debt. And then the accumulation, when you add the debt up every year, each year it's deficit. Or vice versa. Oh, so
Right,
if
no,
you
I know.
spend more, hold on. Time out, folks. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. I have to take this text. Sorry. All right. Hold on. All right. So if you spend more than you take in, it's a deficit. And if you're running a deficit year to year, it creates debt. I think that makes sense. Whatever, you know what I'm saying?
No,
So,
I'm just,
right. So I think what the thing is like we have to borrow money to fill in the gap of what we spend versus what we take in.
right.
And so that increases the debt too. But we're borrowing money from countries like China. Right? Hold on. God almighty, I can't think. All right. So, but my point is like, so we're building up this massive amount of debt, right? At some point, we're gonna have to pay it,
You got to pay the
right?
piper,
Because
as they
like,
say.
what if like China's like, all right, we want our shit, pay
Right?
us, and we're like,
Hey, we want our
no,
money.
fine, I guess we're going to war. I don't know. And so eventually, there's going to be a generation of people who are gonna have to start making changes to pay this shit
I mean,
off,
I
right?
assume so. I mean, that's the thing. I have, so it's, I mean, I have a pretty good comprehension for the most part of how our country functions. But one of the things I admit I've never understood is the national deficit. Like, it's like,
Right.
it's just this, it is a concept that just eludes me, because it's just like, we, we, how can a government be in debt to it can't be in debt to you can't be in debt to yourself.
Right. Well, I guess we're in
So you
debt
got to
to
be in debt to somebody else.
right.
And how do we get so far in debt to other countries? And
Right.
what are they going to eventually want to come and like knocking on the door? I mean, it's like open up.
Right.
DC's Russia. We
Oh,
break your
shit.
legs. We want our
Right.
money.
So,
I mean, and whose door are they knocking on?
right. And like, so one side wants to lower taxes and lower spending. I understand that. The other side wants to increase spending but increase taxes. If you really want to get this debt shit taken care of, we're gonna have to raise taxes for a while, but also cut spending. We have to spend less.
Yeah.
We have to take
because in the Hogan
we,
house, when you
right.
spend more than you make, you go into debt. And so the way you fix
Right.
that
And
is
guess what? The bank don't give a shit about
you
your
spend
problems.
less than you make.
Right. And the credit card company doesn't give a shit.
No.
They're gonna get their money, but states have to have a balanced budget. All states have to have a balanced budget, but the federal government does not.
I don't get it, man. That's what I'm saying.
It's ridiculous. So like,
it makes no sense.
It's kind of like practice what you preach. If you want
Right.
people to be responsible fiscally and blah blah blah, you need to do it.
Yeah.
But that also means
Fiscally
you're gonna have to make cuts to stuff
Yeah.
that you would normally wouldn't do, and the other side does too.
Mhm.
And like, I don't know, you know, in the 50s, guys, the top marginal tax rate was like 90%. And there were still millionaires, by the way.
The whole thing.
There was still super rich people compared to everybody else.
Yeah, right.
It's not like they got taxed out of. No, you heard of Andrew Carnegie, you know, and all those guys, and yeah, you know, like people that used to spend and take in lots of money, they still paid lots of taxes. But anyway, so like taxing the rich is not going to cripple the economy. It actually, I mean, we did pretty well in the 50s, by the way. I'm sure
don't people want to get back to the good old days?
Aaron, so I just
isn't that the thing? We get back to the good old days.
The good old days. Let's make America great again. Everyone making over $300,000. It's 90%. See, that's the one thing people don't understand. It's like everything over $300,000 is at 90%. Everything under is like the normal shit.
Yeah.
But people don't realize, like, anyway, it doesn't matter what people realize or don't. I mean, we're going to crash the economy and go to world war over it, or they'll fix it. There's no two ways about it, right? Right. Anyway, so we're not economists, but we do live in the real world, and we know that we can't spend more than we take in. Otherwise,
we're not allowed. I mean, it just doesn't work, generally speaking.
We can't do it. I mean, we can do it, but there better there's consequences, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I guess that's the point that you're making, and it's a really good point. I mean, it's like, because I mean, like I've said I've said it multiple times as we've been talking, and it's like, and like you just said, we're not economists. I don't really fully understand it, but I just know that in the real world, if you spend more than you make, you go into debt, and eventually that debt will catch you, and eventually you got to pay it back. Right. Or they start taking it.
Doesn't have to do that.
Right.
So your grandchildren, their life is going to be kind of different, I think, if we don't get this debt shit under control.
Right. No, absolutely. My grandchildren are going to have a lot of different things they got to deal with. We don't get a lot of stuff fixed.
By the time I retire.
Right.
All right.
Hey, you're not that far behind me there, buddy.
I wasn't implying that I was.
Oh, you were. You were.
No, I'm just saying in the 5 years that you retire and then I retire. All right, let's end on a happy note.
All right. Last night on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
one of their final Jeopardy clue, one of their Jeopardy categories. Did you watch that?
Well, I seen a Facebook thing about it, so continue.
I was like, last night on Jeopardy, one of their Jeopardy categories last night was their 90s albums. And they gave like the album and you had to name the band. And I was just like, I'm gonna rock this category so hard.
Mhm.
And like one of the clues was Melancholy and the Infinite
I saw
Sadness.
that on,
One of the clues was
Facebook.
Vitalogy featuring Better Man.
Right.
And one of the clues was like Rolling Stones heralded it as the greatest album of the decade, Nevermind. And I'm like, wow.
That's a great category.
Grunge
We're
and
old now,
alternative
bro.
got to be a Jeopardy
That's
category.
awesome. And what a great album name, Melancholy and Infant Sadness. What a great
That's a
name.
fantastic album name.
What a great name. All right.
Yeah, I went searching for that. I still can't find it. I can find it, but I can't afford it. That's the problem. Not right now.
Afford what?
Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness on vinyl.
Oh, that's because the reissue that they came out with like 11 years ago, 10 years ago, you can get for 100, 200 bucks. 100, I think. The original pressing goes for like 800 plus.
Yeah.
I have a European Union reissue pressing.
It's awesome.
It still cost me a lot of money. But the original, yeah. If you have disposable income, sure. If you don't, not for you. And
I don't even need the original. I just want the reissue.
Well, they only
that's
made
kind of
like
tough to come
5,000
by.
of it too, or 10,000. You'll never
Yeah.
see one in a record store ever. That heck no. But it's really cool. I did it eBay. Is eBay still a thing? At
Yeah, I think
least
so. Yeah, it's
12
a
years
thing.
ago when I got it, it was.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to tell Stacy is the
That's the
Stacy's
one you want. Save up, cash it on.
Stacy's the savvy one. I'm like, Christmas this year, if you can find a copy of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, I'd be happy.
Not the new one. An original
yeah.
or a European Union reissue.
I don't want original. It's only $800, sweetie.
And the condition determines price.
Yeah,
But anyway, that's a cool way to end it. I like that grunge has finally made its way to Jeopardy, baby.
Right,
Amazing.
grunge made it to Jeopardy.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. We try to keep it real and all that stuff, but you know how to get in touch with me if you want us to talk about something specific. We most certainly will.
Absolutely.
And if you want to be a guest, why not?
Yeah, sure.
All right, guys, take it easy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.